towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for a total. Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Monday afternoon, the Eagles win the domination of the Giants. All facets of the game, just complete outclassing their division rival. We'll get into that, plus the weekend in the NFL. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a day after on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, but we are live hanging out with you. Of course, Monday Night Football. So I didn't get my days mixed up here. It's been one of those kind of days. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins us in less than 20 minutes from now. We'll get into more about the Eagles and their win, his thoughts on the MVP. I got some thoughts on that as well. And of course, some thoughts on the weekend, because I think this weekend was really the first time that I think the Eagles, and I'm not saying that they haven't been a great team up to this point, but I think yesterday was the first time this year that the Eagles extremely differentiated themselves from the pack. You know, the Bills had trouble beating the Jets. And when Josh Allen got asked after the game about how bad the offense is playing, he gave a non-answer, basically. The Bengals beat the Browns for the first time since Joe Burrow has been their quarterback, and they only won by 13, okay? The Cowboys had to basically come back late and win the game against the worst team in the NFL, the Texans. The Vikings got kicked in the face by the Lions. The Jags crushed the Titans. By the way, the Chiefs, they had a huge lead. Jerry Jeudy scores 3 touchdowns, and all of a sudden, the Chiefs had to sweat that game out late yesterday afternoon. The Bucs and 49ers are 2 completely different teams. The 49ers actually looked good, but the Buccaneers looked so bad, it was hard to tell if the 49ers won or the Bucs lost that game. Seahawks lost at home, and the Chargers, no offense, that game. I was so disappointed by that game last night. I was expecting more fireworks, and it felt like that was a game last night where the Dolphins, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot, and the Chargers were a team that looked content to only score 23 points. The Eagles were the only team that looked dominant in all 3 phases of the game. Last night was the first time I sat back in my chair and I thought, this Eagles team really is the best team in football. Because you look at the Giants and you realize that if you take the fourth quarter away, okay, if you take away what the game was in the fourth quarter, which was basically the Eagles milking the clock, they pulled starters out of the game, and Tyrod Taylor finds a way to score near the end. So you take away the fourth quarter, and you realize that the Eagles won that game 34-14. It was a 20-point drubbing. Even the 49ers only scored 7 points in the entire second half of their game. The 49ers took their foot off the pedal so much, I wasn't even sure if the car was moving by the end of the game. The Eagles, from beginning to end, did something that I had questions about earlier in the year. Early this year, we asked the question, why can't this team score in the second half? Why is this team not a 4-quarter team? Yesterday, they gave you the full gambit. They scored in every quarter. They gave you points. They gave you touchdowns. And they gave you fireworks. Now, the win yesterday afternoon does not guarantee they're going to win a championship. But what it does guarantee is that this organization has built a football team that can go head to head with anybody. Like I said, though, it's no guarantee they're going to win it all. I think there's a few obstacles in their way, and we can discuss that if you want at 609-403-0973 on the text board more in depth. But you look what the Cowboys just did today. For those who see the news, the Cowboys signed T.Y. Hilton to join their team. What the heck is T.Y. Hilton going to do for the Cowboys? Are you going to tell me that yesterday the Dallas Cowboys struggled to beat the Texans because they didn't have T.Y. Hilton or Odell Beckham Jr.? You can take that theory, take a long walk on a short pier for all I care. The problem yesterday was the Dallas Cowboys were sloppy, and the Texans are a feisty football team. And the reason why the Texans had a lead at halftime, 20-17, was because for the first two quarters, they wanted it more than Dallas. Dallas had to outscore them 10-0 in the fourth quarter to win that game. The Dallas Cowboys just went through the adversity that they hadn't been through much this year. And for the Eagles, they didn't have to go through adversity. When you think about football, you have a situation where you have to trust what you see on the field because stats can lie to you. Stats don't always tell the story. And what I saw on the field yesterday was an Eagles team that was dominant. Now, there are still questions moving forward. First of all, they got to get through the next 2 weeks. And I fully acknowledge that. I fully acknowledge that the Bears are going to be a tougher test than the Giants because Justin Fields is probably the best quarterback in terms of as an offensive weapon that you've seen all year. Aaron Rodgers is arguably the best quarterback you've faced all year for the Eagles, but Justin Fields presents the greatest mismatch. Now, do the Eagles look at that game and say, well, we have Jalen Hurts, you have Justin Fields, we have a theory of how to guard you? Is that part of what the theory is walking into that game? You know, we beat Kyler Murray in Arizona, we can beat Justin Fields in Chicago. Maybe that's their mentality, and maybe I'm completely wrong for looking at Justin Fields and that offense that strangely has found ways to put up points this year, despite the fact that offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. I mean, you're talking about a Bears team that even though they've lost a ton of games in a row, I mean, I got to double check it, but I want to say it's 7 games in a row. But you look at those games and you realize that they scored 19 points yesterday in an ugly game. They scored 30 against the Lions, 32 against Miami, 29 against Dallas. The only team that's really shut down their offense in recent weeks is the Jets. And you could argue the Jets are a top 5 defense in the NFL. So the Eagles, they got an interesting matchup this week. And that'll prepare them for the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys game is the creme de la creme. And the hope is that by the time you get to Dallas, that you'll have Goddard back on the field, that Avonte Maddox will be back up to full speed, that the safety situation, we'll call it, doesn't bite you too hard. Because that was the biggest flaw in the game yesterday. When Reed Blankenship went down, I saw more of Kevon Wallace's jersey than I ever wanted to see in my life. I saw the back of Kevon Wallace's jersey chasing people all around. So you can't have Wallace out there against the Cowboys because he will get chewed up and spit out. Just straight up. I'm sorry, no offense to Kevon Wallace. He is arguably the biggest bust this organization has ever had in terms of a draft pick. he is probably one of the grossest miscalculations. I know he wasn't a first, second round pick, but hear me out for a second. This dude was a key player on a team that won a national championship. And then the next year, the defense actually played better. You go back, and I remember the Clemson defense very well. When they won the national championship, okay, the next year, when they lost to LSU, before that game, they were top 5 in the country in almost every defensive stat. The year after that, they were top 4 in almost every defensive stat. For a couple years there, and Kavah Wells was part of that team. I saw him making tons of plays. He comes to get a foul, and he looks slower than me on the football field. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that, if you have any real concern for the Eagles moving forward, it's not the punter. I don't really care. No offense. I hope Aaron Sipos is going to be okay, but he's been a mediocre punter. The Eagles haven't had a good punter in, 5 years, basically? 4 years? Their punting situation has kind of been a haphazard mess. But I think if you have any problems or concerns going into the next 2 away games, it's probably the safety position. Otherwise, this team is lock and loaded on all cylinders. Now, if you're Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and you believe that you can win a shootout with the Dallas Cowboys, that makes me curious. Because really, the Eagles have only had one high-scoring shootout the entire season. And that was week 1 against the Lions. Other than that, the Eagles, they really haven't had a bunch of games where it's been a high-scoring affair back and forth. They've been in close games, but most of those close games, the Cardinals was 20-17 and the Colts was 17-16, right? The Packers was a high-scoring game, but it didn't really feel like a shootout to the very end because it felt like, once Aaron Rodgers went out of that game, that the air went out of the balloon a bit. So to me, the Lions was really the only game that was really a back-and-forth shootout affair. Every other game that's been close for the Eagles, it's either been their defense or some big plays that happened that won them the game. This Dallas game on Christmas Eve, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a high-scoring affair. And if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think that the safety position is going to be the thing that we keep an eye on. Wolf, we found out today that Reed Blankenship has a low-grade sprain. So hopefully that means that he's good to go in a couple weeks. Because remember, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is on the IR. So according to NFL rules, he has to miss a minimum of 4 games. Doesn't put him on the map to come back for the Dallas game. Once you get past that Dallas game, though, you got the Saints, you got the Giants, and then the playoffs. But these next 2 weeks are going to be very interesting. And I feel very comfortable saying that the Bears are going to give you more of a fight than the Giants just did. That Giants team basically just was deflated. And the only reason why they scored any points at the end was because Tyrod Taylor was playing against backups. Josh Hennick here on GameNight, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CIL. We'll be joined by Rob Motti from the Associated Press coming up in about 7 minutes from now. And we'll check on the text board a little bit later this hour. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CIL City. Of course, GameNight being brought to my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins, because we need to make the 97.3 ESPN student comfortable. That's who we called. 609-641-6262. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. 609-641-6262 online at jenkinsandsons.com.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's the Yang on the drive. George into the lane, and he got a layup. The miniman into the lane, going right to left.
The Sixers host the Sacramento Kings tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. ESPN.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with fresh, limited-quantity deals each day on tech to power every passion. Save on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget, special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Just call 877-ASK-DELL for Days of Deals savings. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
No.
Cape Regional Health System for a healthier life.
They're big, and they're coming for you. Tax refund advance loans at Jackson Hewitt, up to $4,500. That's big. Like our tax refund advance can beat up their tax refund advance kind of big. Up to $4,500 at Jackson Hewitt. Book your appointment today and get details at jacksonhewitt.com. You're going to need a bigger wallet. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons: sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, "Best product I've ever used," and "Amazing, I love my Navage." Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette. It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay, and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys, and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Welcome back to Game Night. Here, Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We'll get into more of the NFL now as Rob Motti joins us every week to talk about the NFL. AP lead NFL writer. Of course, he is the host of Faith on the Field, Saturdays at 9 a.m., the Encore Sunday morning here on 97.3 ESPN, and the AP Pro Football Podcast. Rob, welcome back in. How you doing today?
Hey, great to be with you, Josh, after yet another Eagles win. How about that?
Let's talk about the Eagles win, because to me, I felt like that was the most complete Eagles win of the year, because it felt like there was the worst thing that happened was what happened to Sipas, the punter. Like everything else seemed to go the Eagles' way in a way that was like, you're just sitting there like, am I really watching this team completely? It's almost like when you watch a college football game and you see one team like an Alabama dominate someone, and you're just like, I knew they were good, but I didn't realize they were this good.
Yeah, and the special teams play is the one area, I guess, if you wanted to nitpick, and we know we've seen some special teams breakdowns at various points throughout the year, Josh, and that's something that they have to clean up as they get into January and into the postseason. But when you look at offensive performance, you look at the defensive performance, complete domination again, and it's week in and week out, and they're at that point now where they're 12-1, and you look around the landscape of the NFC, and you see Dallas almost lose to Houston. They need a 98-yard drive at the end, and you see Minnesota lose to Detroit, and it's just a matter of when, not if, are the Eagles going to get that number one seed. And when they get that number one seed, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the final 2 weeks of the season, maybe even 3 weeks of the season. But they are clicking on all cylinders, whether it's the run game, the pass game. I look at that one touchdown that Jalen threw, the second touchdown of the game to Devontae Smith. I believe it was on a fourth down play, right, Josh? 41 yards, and the safety comes over. And that, to me, was a play where at various points in years past might be a pick, or the safety might knock Devontae's head off.
Right.
And it drops in. He gets there a bit too late, and it goes in for a touchdown. That kind of sums up the Eagles season. They're just a step ahead of everyone else. The coaching staff, a step ahead of everyone else. Again, you see receivers running all over the field, wide open. The scheme, the system, the route running, the execution, it's on point all season long. And that's led to where the Eagles are now. To me, far and away, not just the best team in the NFC, they're the best team in the NFL.
The Eagles could potentially have two 1,000-yard receivers. Miles Sanders already passed the 1,000-yard mark. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, if he's not the favorite, he's in that conversation with everybody for the MVP conversation. How good is this Eagles offense, do you think? Like, are we seeing the best of them, or could they even potentially get better?
Man, I'm looking at them in the overall scope of, are they the best Eagles offense ever? I remember 2017, they were phenomenal. There was like a 5-game stretch where they beat teams by not just double digits, by 20 or more points, right? I remember there was a Denver game in there, a San Fran game in there, and then we know what happened. Carson got hurt, and then they still found a way after a little bit. Nick Foles got them clicking. I think this team, this offense is more complete. Like, this run game is better than that run team. And I know with Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount, they had a pretty strong, solid run game. But here, with Jalen's ability to run and what Miles Sanders over 1,000 yards, you could plug in whether it's Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, they're going to get you positive yards every time. The run game is so good. I do think, though, Josh, like you're asking if they can get better. I think there's another level. And I think the pass game can get even better, which is crazy to think when Jalen Hurts is already leading the NFL in passer rating. I think he's at 108.2, wherever he's at. And yet there are still some – Dallas Goedert's out these past few weeks. Like, just think about that. They're doing what he's been able to do, Jalen Hurts, and this team passing the ball with Dallas Goedert out since the Washington game is pretty impressive. And you get him back, that takes the whole offense, the pass game, the run game, everything. And I think there's another gear that they can shift to down the stretch, or maybe even into the playoffs. And I mentioned a little bit ago, like, how interesting. It's going to be interesting how they go down the stretch, how they approach things. I may not want to show too much, even in that Dallas game, in case you face them again in the playoffs. Like, there may be a point where Nick Sirianni might want to scale back and say, you know what? Let's not show too much. It's going to take like a catastrophic collapse to not get the number 1 seed. Let's just go out there, ground and pound, and beat teams with running the ball, because we don't want to show too many of our routes, our schemes, or anything. And that's what I'm looking at for the final 3-4 weeks.
Rob, you mentioned 2017. We've already heard Brandon Graham asked about this in Good Morning Football. We heard Darren Sproles talk about this on Fox Sports 1. They both were asked, what are their connections? Are there similarities between those two teams? And, both guys kind of, politely answer the question, I'll say. Obviously Brandon is still playing, and, for him, he sees a lot of similarities. He feels that, Brandon and Darren both said, though, they think the offense this year might be better than the 2017 one. Rob, you saw that 2017 up front firsthand. What are the similarities, and which team do you think, may potentially have the stronger unit?
That 2017 offense had a pretty dominant offensive line too, and it was impressive because they lost JP. Remember, you lose Jason Peters, and Big V steps in at the left tackle spot. Carson Wentz was in the MVP running, just like Jalen Hurts is, until he went down. But I just see this offense as even better on the ground, right? And I think that's what makes it an overall better offense than 17, because even though Carson was able to move around before obviously tearing his knee up against the Rams, Jalen Hurts is an elite running back style quarterback. So while he's making the throws in the pocket and outside the pocket, he's also a third running back, a second running back when he's on the field. Carson wasn't that guy. He was elusive, and he was able to gain yards and make plays with his legs. Not the way Jalen Hurts does. Jalen Hurts can go over 1,000 yards rushing if he wanted to, if they needed him to. So that's why I think this offense is even better, because then also let's look at the wide receiver talent. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are, to me, as a group, are ahead of Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar and Torrey Smith. Alshon Jeffrey was playing a little bit banged up, and he made some big plays, and it was before things went south for him. But A.J. Brown's a super stud. Devontae Smith is a first-round pick who can be a number one if they needed him to be. This wide receiver talent is far better, and I do see similarities in play design that allows the receivers to be as wide open. I remember looking back, that was the second year of Doug. This is the second year of Nick. And everybody was loving what Doug Peterson and Frank Reich were cooking up and scheming up, because you would see receivers open by 4, 5, 6, 7 yards. They had steps on guys. And that speaks to their ability to do that, to get open. But to me, even more, it speaks to the creativity and the play design, allowing them to get open like that. And you're seeing that now. So that's where I see the similarities there and up front with the dominant, menacing, punishing offensive line. And, of course, the anchor is the same. It was Jason Kelce in 17. It's Jason Kelce now.
Rob Meyer from the Associated Press joining us here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CLC. Rob, we've talked in the past about how you don't vote for the MVP, but you assign the voters. You talk to a lot of these guys. We all know that Jalen Hurts is, if not the candidate, one of the candidates. But I want to ask you, do you feel like, as of December 12th, obviously this may change next few weeks, is it feeling like that maybe Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are playing themselves out of that conversation in recent weeks?
Mahomes had a 3-touchdown, 3-interception day.
Yep.
Everybody's going to focus on that great no-look, whatever type pass that he keeps coming up with. I think it's hard for them to completely play themselves out, right, Josh? Because, just look at most valuable player.
Mm-hmm.
If you take Patrick Mahomes off the Chiefs, they're an average football team. If you take Josh Allen off the Buffalo Bills, they're probably a sub-500 team. What may hurt Jalen Hurts, and I will preface this by saying he's my front runner. He was my front runner last week. He did nothing this week to take me off of that. He's still my front runner. But what may hurt Jalen is the fact that the offensive line is so dominant, and the offense has so many weapons around him. And in talking to different people who some have a vote, and I've talked to non-voters too about this as well, that's where they're looking at who is the more valuable to their team, because some believe you can plug in another talented quarterback into this Eagles system and this Eagles scheme, and with the talent around them, have the kind of success that the Eagles are having. Maybe not 12-1, but perhaps 10-3, 9-4, 11-2. You can't say that about Buffalo. You can't say that about Kansas City. And I'm conflicted about that, because if you want to, I guess, take points away from Jalen because of all of the talent around him and the superior coaching that they're getting, I feel like you still have to give him all the credit for where he is. The fact that he doesn't make mistakes. He's at 3 picks. I forget how many fumbles he's had. He's in the 32 touchdowns combined. He's making smart decisions, protects the football, and executing and getting the ball to those playmakers. And I think there are quarterbacks out there who certainly can step in and do the same and have that kind of success. But there are guys who are going to get in there and mess that up. They're going to miss the open receiver. They're going to try and force it into coverage instead of hitting or make the bad read or not go through the progression. So I got to give Jalen the credit for executing regardless of the talent that he has around him. And to me, that's why he's my MVP. And while I don't necessarily feel like Mahomes or Allen and these guys are going to be falling out of the conversation, because you know how fluid it is. Next week, that one of them could have a 5-touchdown game,
right,
and Jalen might have a 180-yard game with 1 touchdown and 1 turnover, and then all of a sudden, it fluctuates the line. But keep an eye on Joe Burrow. I think he's the guy he did have a slow start against Cleveland yesterday. Finally beat him. First time he beat him in 5 tries. I would keep an eye on him to see if they can surpass Baltimore in the AFC North. Depending how they finish, he might be the strongest challenge to Jim.
Yeah, Bengals have won 5 straight. Pretty good look for Burrow and the Bengals there. A couple other things I want to ask you about before I let you go, Rob. First of all, I got to go to the former Eagles head coach, Doug Peterson. What a win by Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was questionable all week with that toe. He goes out there as a monster game. And right now, there's a chance the Jags can still win that AFC South with the Titans now losing 3 in a row.
Oh, you love to see it. If you're a Dougie P guy, you love to see it. And I'm watching that game a little bit and flicking through all of them yesterday. And I see Trevor Lawrence at 360. I think it was a career high, 368, 3 touchdowns. I just said, well, of course he's doing what he's doing with Doug Peterson, right?
Right.
Like Doug Peterson's a developer of quarterbacks. And he's been able to take Trevor Lawrence, who last year – number 1 overall pick, like far and away. Everybody, it wasn't even a thought. Like we knew he was the guy, and he had to suffer through the Urban Meyer year and everything else that he went there. Doug is bringing the talent to the max, right? And Evan Ingram steps up for them. 11, 162, 2 touchdowns. Just overall dominant performance against Tennessee, who's fading. I never gave Tennessee respect. And then they just get off to a 7-2 start. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start giving this team the respect they deserve. And what do? They start losing week after week. It's 3 in a row now. They dumped their GM last week, which was pretty surprising in season kind of decision by the owner there. They're fading. They're 2 games now. Jacksonville's 2 games behind. That division, like the AFC South and the NFC South, are both the worst, clearly, far and away, the worst divisions in football. But good for Doug Peterson. I love to see the progress that he's making with that team, and it's kind of like it's a feel good kind of thing. If you're an Eagles fan and you want another team to pull for, you got to pull for Doug and the Jags in the AFC.
Speaking of pulling for guys, how about a team that seemingly looked like they were up creek without a paddle, and now all of a sudden, after yesterday's win, how about the 6-7 Fighting Dan Campbells? I mean, the Lions. I mean, Rob, this team, they looked horrible going in their bye week earlier this year after the 1 Eagles game, and now all of a sudden, they are right there potentially maybe fighting for a playoff spot.
Man, I've watched them closely, even more so than because I cover the whole league for the AP, but because I drafted Jared Goff in my fantasy football league, and he's ridden. I've ridden Jared Goff to first place as we head into.
Not a bad move, Rob. Not a bad move.
Right? It only happened because I forgot. I'm like, wait, I'm doing it online. I'm like, shoot, I don't have a quarterback. Who's available? Jared Goff. And I'm like, they're going to be coming from behind. He'll give me garbage yards, garbage touchdowns. Nah, forget that. He's found another gear. He may not be the bust people thought he was after he fizzled out with the LA Rams. Like this team's got talent on offense. Josh, they got running backs. They got some weapons at receiver. Williams comes in first game, first catch.
Wide open.
Yard. Right? How about this team? It's talented. I like the scheme. I like the system. They got a good offensive line. We know all year long they've been able to score points. And now if their defense needed to be figured out, and their defense – and the defense has gotten better. Like they were in sell mode trading Hawkinson to Minnesota. And what's he thinking yesterday? Yeah, he's on the first place team. Yeah, Minnesota's going to go and win the NFC North at some point. Like the Lions aren't going to catch them. But it was for Eagles fans, that gives you breathing room, right? It allows that to happen. But I'd like to see the Lions push for that final playoff spot, just to see what that would be like to get this team in after 1-6, having won 5 of 6. They got the energy from Dan Campbell. You got Deuce on the sideline too as an assistant head coach and running backs coach, and you got the story of Jared Goff's resurgence and all that talent. It's a fun team to watch.
Washington, New York, Seattle, Detroit. 4 teams basically fighting for 2 spots. Rob, who do you think are the 2 that make it in?
Man, the Giants are fading after that strong start. I like what Washington's been able to do. Seattle's loss to Carolina at home is baffling to me. Like you're in a position where you're facing a team that, although they're in the mix in the NFC South because it's the NFC South, Panthers a few weeks ago, I believe 3 or 4 weeks ago, before they went and won 3 out of 4, had the number 2 pick in the draft, right behind the Houston Texans. That's where they were. Get your quarterback of the future, number 2 pick, and here they are 1 game out of the playoffs with a game against Tampa Bay coming up. I'm going to put an X on Seattle. After that loss, I don't believe in them. I don't like this team. So I'll go with Dallas, Washington, and then what I think is going to give the Giants the edge, and I got to look at Detroit's last 4 games, but the Giants get to play the Eagles in the final game of the year. That certainly isn't going to matter anything to the Eagles, and that might be the game that gets the Giants in the playoffs.
Before I let you go, I'm pairing these 2 together because they were paired together for so long. Right now, the Patriots are 6-6. They're not in the playoffs. Tom Brady and Bucs looked horrible yesterday in the Bay Area. It's supposed to be a homecoming for Tom, right? He had all his friends and family there, and the Bucs just completely just tripped over the bed and fell out the window, basically. It was almost like a comedy skit at times. Is there a possibility that both Brady and Belichick both miss the postseason?
I don't think the Bucs are going to miss the postseason because they're in a position where they can even lose the next 2 games to Cincinnati and Christmas in Arizona and be looking at 6-9 and then win the division because they control their own destiny. All they have to do, like their next 2 games are irrelevant. If they beat the Panthers, then Falcons, the final 2 games of the season, right now, that would have them at 8 wins. They would win the division because those 2 wins would be the 9th loss for the Falcons and the Panthers. So in essence, the next 2 weeks for the Buccaneers are irrelevant because all they need to do is beat Carolina on New Year's Day at home and Atlanta on the road, final game of the season, and they win the division. Now, they could win the division before that if they win the next 2 and those two teams lose a game here or there. They may have it wrapped up before you get to New Year's in a fight. But really, that's what it comes down to. So given that, I don't think the Bucs are going to be out. But what to me is the most interesting thing when it relates to Brady and the Bucs, I think he wants to play another season. He still has the arm. You still see that incredible comeback last Monday night. And he missed some throws against the 49ers. He also had a 68-yard touchdown that was negated by yet another holding call on Donovan Smith. So I think he wants to play, and he can play. But where is he going to play next year? And while the Bucs would love to have him, and he's been in the system and he knows the offense, the coaching staff right now is terrible. And I would think he would want a better coaching staff if his hometown 49er team, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, and I don't think they will, and they feel like, hey, Trey Lance hasn't played in forever, right? Let's get a 1-year placeholder for Trey Lance. Who better than let's bring me home and have him be that guy with all those weapons and Kyle Shanahan? Man, I think that's a possibility for next year is Brady in San Francisco.
Poor Brock Purdy. He beats Brady in his first NFL start, and he might get replaced by him next year. Right?
And he was so appreciative of playing against him. How crazy is that? You see, Brock Purdy after the game, all excited that he just beat one, that he had the honor and the privilege, he called it, of playing Tom Brady. And you're right. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl, he might just very well be replaced by it. But what is it like? You can't give that kid enough accolades and kudos for what he did in that game. He did not look like the last pick in the draft. He was tremendous.
I mean, Bob, before I let you go, who's more of the quarterback wizard? I mean, is it Kyle Shanahan or is it Sean McVay? I mean, we're seeing both of them pull rabbits out of the hats and, do some crazy stuff. Baker Mayfield Thursday night, Brock Purdy on Sunday. I mean, these two guys, and they're in the same division.
That's a great question. That is a great question. I mean, look at what Kyle Shanahan was able to do with Jimmy G. He went to a Super Bowl with him, went to within a one play of getting to a Super Bowl with him last year. And now Brock Purdy. Sean McVay's actually won the Super Bowl, but he needed Matthew Stafford to win it. That is a great, great question. Like Baker Mayfield stepping in there in less than 48 hours and doing what he was doing is a to the coaching staff, but certainly to Baker too as well, man. That guy, for all he's been through and all that's happened and transpired, the ups and downs in his career, he's made the primetime games that the Rams have remaining, and there's a couple now watchable. Like I would not. I'm going to watch just to see Baker. I watch because I have to watch, but I would want to watch just to see Baker Mayfield.
Curiosity factor definitely going up a notch there. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, at Rob Maaddi on Twitter for all of his NFL coverage, the AP Pro Football Podcast, Faith on the Field Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. and the Encore Sunday morning here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Rob, great stuff today. I appreciate you doing this, and we'll talk soon.
You got it, Josh. Take care. Have a great one.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up in the primetime spotlight, Mac Jones and the New England Patriots travel to the desert to face Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Arizona looking for a resurgent end of the season, while the Pats are trying to stay afloat in the playoff race. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Listen to Monday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Don't end up on the naughty list. Let Bob's Garden Center on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township keep you on the nice list. Sleigh bells are ringing on Saturday, December 17th. 97.3 ESPN will host a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center from 4 to 6 p.m.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
They're big, and they're coming for you. Tax refund advance loans at Jackson Hewitt, up to $4,500. That's big. Like our tax refund advance can beat up their tax refund advance kind of big. Up to $4,500 at Jackson Hewitt. Book your appointment today and get details at jacksonhewitt.com. You're going to need a bigger wallet. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
The JCPenney Mystery Sale is back for the holidays. Through Thursday, usher in huge holiday savings with our in-store coupon giveaway. You can get an extra 30, 40, or even 50% off while they last. Simply find an associate for a coupon, then peel to reveal your deal. Hurry in now to discover the savings you've been wishing for. We got your holiday. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 12/15. Exclusions apply. Giveaway in-store only. Must be 18 years or older. See store for details.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
O'Reilly.
See the road ahead more clearly with Sylvania bulbs and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, purchase select Sylvania bulbs and get up to a $20 gift card after mail-in rebate, plus 2 times O Rewards points. Replace your bulbs today and see better tonight. Let the professional parts people help you find the bulbs you need. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just 1 dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything. Grainger gets you, and we're here for you, and all the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products and solutions, plus board-certified safety consultants here to answer your questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MattBlattKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile
Josh
app.
Hennig wrapping up the hour here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle, of course, brought to you by my friends at Jenkins & Sons. Yes, when 97.3 need to make our studio comfortable, that's who we called. Listen, for whatever you need, leaks, stoppages, renovations, check technicians are trained to do it all. You only have to call one number, 609-641-6262, or visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Over on the text board, 609-403-0973 on the text board. Before we get out of here, Andrew in Summers Point chimes in from our conversation earlier, says, Josh, you're correct. This was the first game where the Eagles actually put a team away. And it's one of those things where, Andrew in Summers Point, it's a great point, because I think the biggest problem people have when they watch the 2017 team compared to this year's team, the 2017 team put a lot of teams away. They really buried a lot of people that year. And you just have to wonder, what is the mentality of this Eagles team moving forward? It feels like they want to win games, and nothing wrong with that. But I think optics-wise, the average fan looks at that and says, I need to see more. And listen, whether you think fans are right or not, that's a whole nother conversation. But I do think that, when you have a guy who's an MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts, when you have a team that is playing as well as they are, it just makes you wonder about a lot of things moving forward. All right, coming up tonight on 97.3 ESPN, we have Monday Night Football, Patriots and Cardinals. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. I'll be back on tomorrow, filling in for Mike Gill from 2 to 6 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Have a great night, everybody.